India can neither be ignored nor ghettoized as part of the sideshow of developing countries. In the last 70 years, since independence and partition, India has become the fastest growing economy on the planet, and perhaps by 2030 we'll also be the most populous nation. As what happens in India matters more and more to the rest of the world, it seems to me well past time for us to set aside the young adult versions of India's history and transformation. Instead, I think we can engage with new and eye-opening scholarship, archaeological discoveries, recently discovered documents, declassified files, and I drew upon all of these sources and many others too to try in my book to give a more grown-up measure of the nation now undergoing this unprecedented and indeed I think world historical change. In corporate circles, the simple key to India's transformation is said to be the economic liberalization of 1991. In certain Western quarters, people still argue that the key was imperial generosity, the Raj having given their subjects, or set up their subjects with the English language and with some pretty nice trains. But I want to bring into the debate an aspect that we often neglect, and that's the role of remarkable individuals. For that's something that struck me long before I decided to write this book, that although Indian history has dynasties, epochs, castes, religions, communities, it remains, relative to other countries, a curiously unpeopled place. Sure, we have a few historical celebrities, but too often these complicated men and women get turned into effectively venerable wallpaper, mystical and miraculous, but unrecognizable as human beings. And meanwhile, we exclude from the pantheon other individuals whose fascinating journeys from anonymity to achievement would, I think, if properly reconsidered, permit a better understanding of conflicts that still wrench us today. As I try to demythologize Indian history in order to rehumanize it, I want to underline a second intent of mine in this book, which seems relevant, I think, to the struggles unfolding all around us. I'd like to remind readers that what's driven India forward, made it stronger and less oppressive historically, has been the spirit of individual dissent. So my book gathers together poets, artists, reformers, kings, mathematicians, a tribal healer, a visionary engineer, among others, some of whose names are still little known. Other names might be famous, but their lives, I think, are in many ways still misunderstood. For instance, in the book, you'll meet the real Vivekananda, the baby-faced, cigar-smoking monk who effectively founded yoga, living in Manhattan, as it happens. And I'll show you how he was a perceptive critic of many aspects of Hinduism, and also deeply influenced by American egalitarian practices, although later he gets incarnated as a mascot for the Hindu right. And I think what's true of Vivekananda is true of many of the other men and women I write about. It's only when we turn to their historical times and see the predicaments they were struggling with that we can begin to recognize what really was extraordinary about them.